Here's my top 10 multi-position players of all time. Coming in at number 10, this guy was a manager in the latter part of his career. He managed the Braves, I think he managed the Cardinals, but he was most notably famous for being a manager for the New York Yankees. But before he was a manager, he was a great multi-position player. This is Joe Torre. He was a catcher, a third baseman, a first baseman. When he was a catcher, he had a caught stealing rate of 41%, 9-time All-Star, 1971 MVP. He was second in Rookie of the Year voting in 1961. He had a career OPS plus of 129. He also had a WAR of 57.6. He was 1965 Gold Glover as a catcher. Joe Torre could play multiple positions. He's a very high IQ baseball mind. That's my number 10 for multiple position players, Joe Torre. Coming in at number 9 is a guy that I got criticized for not putting in my left fielder list. And this guy, I think, is by far one of the better left-handed bats. Probably top tier bat. Not probably, a top tier bat of the 1970s and parts of the 60s. That is Willie Stargell for the Pittsburgh Pirates, right? So he played as a World Series MVP. He had 475 home runs, won 2 World Series, 7-time All-Star, 848 games at first base, 1,200 plus games at left field. So yeah, he had 400 plus more games at left field, but still he had a big major part of his career at first base. Or a big part of his career at first base. Majority left fielder, I get it, but I still consider that a multi-position player. That's my number 9. Pops, we are family, Willie Stargell. All right, coming in at number 8 is another player that people are like, how can you not put this on your list? And I think it might have been my third base list, maybe it been first base list, but this guy had lots of time at first and third and some time in left. He played for the Twins in the 60s, and I think maybe for the Senators for a bit before they became the Twins. This is Harmon Killmonger, one of the most premier power hitters of the 60s. I love Harmon Killmonger, man. I love the whole thumping type of approach that he used as a batsman. And again, like, I'm in my 40s, so I didn't get to see these guys play. I didn't get to see these guys play in the 60s and the 70s and stuff. I was born in the late 70s. But I get to see video and I get to see stats, and also I'm a huge baseball enthusiast, and I make sure that I study these guys. Harmon Killmonger needs to be in a top 10 list. 570 plus career home runs, 573 example. 1969 MVP, 900 plus games at first, 700 plus at third, 400 plus at left, 13-time All-Star. Went to the series in 1965, OPS plus of 143. 9 times in this guy's career, he drove in 100 plus runs. 9 times. Man, that's a lot. So that's my number 8 for you, Harmon Killmonger. All right, coming in at number 7 for me is a guy that played for the Milwaukee Brewers, Robin Yount, shortstop, center fielder, won 2 MVPs, 1 in center field and 1 as shortstop, a 3-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, Gold Glover, shortstop, 115 OPS plus. 1982 was his best season. The Harvey's Wallbangers, that crew there, loved the 82 Brewers, one of my favorite historical teams of all time. 957 OPS, 166 OPS plus in that season. 77 WAR plus for his career. Robin Yount, in any multi-position, guys that switch positions in their career, this guy needs to be mentioned. He wasn't on my shortstop list, he wasn't on my center field list, but you can guarantee he's in my multiple position list. So that's my number 7, Robin Yount. All right, coming in at number 6 is a guy that for the first half of his career, we're going to talk about another shortstop. And the second half of his career, he was a first baseman. He never went to the World Series, but this guy did win 2 MVPs back to back. I'm talking about Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks. I love me Mr. Cub, man. Let's play 2. 512 home runs, 2-time MVP, like I said. He played 1,100 games as short, 1,200 plus at first, 14-time All-Star, OPS plus of 122. You can't go wrong with Ernie Banks. So Ernie Banks is at the halfway point for my list at number 6. All right, coming in at number 5. Now, probably going to get a lot of flack for this one. A lot of people consider this guy the greatest utility guy. And now, I've argued with my father on this one. What do you consider a utility guy, right? Is it a guy that plays multiple positions within a season, or is it the guy you could put in one position one year, the next season another position, right? So this guy exemplifies the utility guy, the multiple position guy. So I put him at number 5, and that is Pete Rose, the all-time Major League hit king. I did mention in my right field video that I think Ichiro is you can consider him a hit king too because of his hits in the Japanese league with his Major League career. But if you just look at Major League Baseball stats, obviously Pete Rose is the all-time hit leader. And he played first, he played third, he played second, he played left, he played right. And he can be classified as, so what some people say, as a winner. He won. He played 24-5 seasons. This guy played forever. Now his career is marred with the gambling, the gambling part of it, and it's really kind of hard to judge this guy morally in regards to, like, did he bet and on or off his team? You know, I don't want to get into that. That's not really the point of this video. That's another story. But he's a 1973 MVP. He was Rookie of the Year, won the World Series 3 times, won 3 batting titles. He's the all-time hit king, 118 OPS plus, 17-time All-Star, Gold Glove at right field, and he's nearly an 80 WAR. And with the WAR stat with Pete Rose, you kind of got, that's a little bit with a grain of salt because he did play for over 20 plus seasons. So, you know, he can have some mediocre seasons here and there. However, the guy was a steady and consistent 300 hitter, 190, 200 hit guy. So Pete Rose deserves a spot on a list. For me, he falls at number 5 for the multiple position guys. All right, coming in at number 4, I'm going to go to the Negro Leagues here. I think there's a few guys I can go with on this list to put on this list in that particular league. However, I'm going to go with who I consider probably the best multiple position player, and that's going to be Bullet Rogan, who was a pitcher, a second baseman, and a center fielder. So we're talking about 3 very, very prime positions. He was a 152 OPS plus from the stats that they have accumulated for batting. And he was an ERA plus of 161 as a pitcher for the stats they've gathered, right? He was a 500 plus slugger. He won the 1924 Negro League World Series, and his accumulated WAR for the numbers they found is over 60. And since they've now integrated Negro League stats into Major League stats, I think it's very, very important and very important for the historical context of this is to include more players like these on this list because they deserve a place at the table. And for a multiple position type of person, Bullet Rogan deserves his place at the table. That's my number 4, Bullet Rogan. Coming in at number 3 is St. Louis Cardinal great. And another guy I've received flack for not putting him on my left field list or possibly first base list. That's none other than Stan Musial. Great hitter, lifetime 330 plus hitter. Had the same number of hits that he had at his home ballpark that he did in visiting ballparks. He's a 128 plus WAR. Insane. Good grief. 7 batting titles, 24-time All-Star, 3 World Series, 3-time MVP, 1,000 plus games at first base, 1,000 plus games in the outfield. He played a little bit of center, a smidgen of center. Stan Musial, Stan the man. Come on. One of the greatest hitters of all time. He's my number 3 multiple position player. All right, before we get to number 1 and number 2, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. Now, a lot of times on my lists, I notice in the comments that I get a little bit burned by, hey, you didn't mention this guy in your honorable mention. You didn't mention this guy. And you know what? Hey, sometimes I miss people. So if I miss a person, I apologize, but please feel free in the comments to say, hey, you should have mentioned this. Please be nice, though. Niceness is always admired and respected. Okay, so some people, Monty Ward, George Davis, some super old school guys with that one. Craig Biggio. Craig Biggio's got to get mentioned. A great 1990s, early 2000s baseball player. Ben Zobrist for the Rays. Excellent multiple position player. Another Negro League guy, two Negro League guys, Leon Day and Martin DeHigo. They were wonderful multiple position players. I also want to mention Ted Double Duty Radcliffe. Come on, man. His name's Double Duty. You got to mention him. Carl Yastrzemski, he can kind of maybe classify. I did put him in my left fielders list, but theoretically he can be put in there. Alex Rodriguez, probably want to just give him a mention, maybe honorable mention if you want to say so. I didn't put him in my top 10. Take that as you wish. All right, so Joe Mauer has to be mentioned. Archie Vaughn, I'd love to mention some Archie Vaughn. And modern day player, we got to name him. We got to talk about him. Shohei Ohtani. The guy is legit. Let's see how he finishes off his career. Could he make the list? Possibly. I don't know. Well, time will tell. Coming in at number 2 for me. This person played for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Excuse me. This person played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He broke the color barrier essentially in 1947 for Major League Baseball. This guy can play first base, second base, third base, and outfield, respectively. This is Jackie Robinson. Was essentially the first ever Rookie of the Year in 1947. Was an MVP in 49. Won a World Series in 1955. And this guy can play all over the place. He was not only a multiple position baseball player, but he can play multiple sports. I'm assuming all these other players could, but Jackie Robinson deserves to be in a top 10 list for me. I haven't put him in a list yet. A lot of people thought he should go on that second baseman list. I understand that. But he just didn't have enough game speed to qualify from the other guys. Sorry. So I'm going to put him on my multiple position list. He's my number 2 multiple position player of all time, Jackie Robinson. All right, here we go. The number 1 guy that I receive the most criticism for not putting in my greatest right fielders of all time. George Herman Ruth. Otherwise, the Sultan of SWAT. The Colossus of Clout. Babe Ruth. Man, people hate me for not putting him as my greatest right fielder of all time. They are just like flabbergasted that I haven't done this. And every so often I'll comment on the thread there and I'll say, hey look, Babe Ruth, yeah, he was a pitcher. But did you know that he split time in right field and left field? He played 1,128 games in right field and 1,047 games in left field. I would consider that a very split number on the numbers of games played for that position. Also, didn't know if you know this, Babe Ruth was a pitcher. What? Yes. So, I have to consider Babe Ruth possibly, actually it's not possibly, definitely the greatest multiple position player of all time. Now, left and right field, what's the difference? I don't know. But he did pitch the first part of his career, right? So this guy was a superb pitcher and became the best hitter on the planet. Babe Ruth, not only is he my number 1 multiple position player of all time, Babe Ruth is my number 1 player of all time. Just in case people weren't understanding this, let's run through some numbers. A 180-plus WAR career, 12-time home run champion, OPS plus, leader of all time at 206, won an MVP, probably should have won like 7 or 8 of them, but he can only win 1 because of the rules at the time. He was an all-star because they didn't have a lot of... He was an all-star when he was old because they didn't introduce the all-star game until the 30s. 7 World Series time champion. He won 7 World Series. He won an ERA title and a batting title. His ERA plus lifetime was 122. He had 94 career victories. He led the league in complete games one time. And in his World Series, he had 29 plus consecutive innings of shutout baseball. Didn't give up runs. He had a lifetime of 714 home runs, the leader until Hank Aaron broke that record. He's the man, the myth, the legend. It's Babe Ruth, the number one player of all time that would play multiple positions. He was a pitcher and a hitter. Now, I apologize for not putting him on my all-time right field list, but I was saving it. And I know we had to wait 5 years to see this video. And if you've been waiting 5 years, I appreciate it. But if you just kind of stumble upon these videos, that's cool. All right, so that was my top 10 multiple position players of all time. I do want to tell you guys that I do have a podcast out there. It's called Star Power Cast. I do it with my one of my best friends and my dad. We talk about baseball. We talk about our baseball game. I do have a baseball game called Star Power Baseball. So if you're interested in that, check us out on Facebook. Give us a like just to see what that's all about. And as far as the future of this channel goes, I'm going to be doing some more lists and everything. If you like them, I'm also going to be streaming some games of Star Power Baseball. So if you're interested in that, give us a look, give us a view, like and subscribe if you like the stuff. So thanks, guys. I know it's like kind of like a makeover here for my last few videos, and it's been a few years. And I would like to say that it was COVID that did it, but I was just lazy. I had other things to do. But I'm back, and I'm glad to give you guys some more content. So until then, the dice are nice, but the spin